Hey there and welcome to Startup Chuck. Today we're going to talk about product pricing and also why most Kickstarters fail because people don't understand all of the costs that go into selling a product and getting it manufactured and getting it to the customer. So we will take an example of I don't know, just maybe a portable electric coffee maker off of Amazon, and then we'll walk through a spreadsheet that I like to use in order to determine how much it's going to cost to make it, what its true cost is going to be, whether or not it's even going to be successful on Kickstarter, how many customers I need to get, along with how many email subscribers and people committing before I even launch the Kickstarter so that I don't fail. I'll go into all of that. So let's pull up our sponsor today, which is Chuck Rack. Chuck Rack's a great bucket ski rack that goes onto the back of your car. They get the Chuck bucket. They also have a bike rack called Chuck Rack, and it just pops on and off, and it's great for the ski season or the bike season. So we want to thank them for sponsoring this. So now let's imagine our product is this wonderful thing on Amazon. It's about $139.99, and I'm sure they make a bajillion of them. And let's imagine that that's our product. So I've got this handy dandy spreadsheet here, and in it, basically I like to have as my ROI calc for product launch. But really what we're doing is, let's take our item with an MSRP of $139. So, because I think that's what it was. If I go back over here, yeah, $139, real world example. So how much would you expect that product to sell for on a Kickstarter? Well, this is you would think typically Kickstarters are lower, but that's not always the case. You know, 139 is the mass produced version cost of that. So in smaller quantities, you might imagine it's not going to be 139. So it might cost you, let's say, you know, it's new, it's niche, 199 is MSRP. And then maybe your early bird, super early bird is 79. And then your early bird is 99, and your Kickstarter special price here would be like 125. Now, one thing to note is that you never actually want to ever hit this level here. This level is supposed to be so much higher, so maybe it's like 149, 149, that a customer sees this and says, oh man, I better get in on this early bird level, and you just keep upping the number of units that you allow in that tier. So always look like it's about to sell out, and then more and more people buy it for $99 instead of, you know, usually if it ever hits the 149, people feel like they don't want to buy it anymore. It's too expensive now. It's not as good a deal. And so with that in mind, you basically can take these numbers and then you can put in how many availability you're going to have for each of these tiers. So there might be only 200 super early, and then in here I just have 189 early bird, but you'll see that's me estimating 389 units sold. So the big thing for you to know is with your manufacturer, you already have your prototype. You have a general idea how much it's going to cost to make it, whether it's made in the US or it's overseas. There's a minimum order quantity price that makes sense for you in order to manufacture this item in bulk. So let's say it is something you want to make overseas. You want to make this coffee product thing, and they said, okay, we're willing to make it for you for a minimum of 1,000 units, and we're going to cover all the tooling costs, and those units are going to cost $35 each. And you go, okay, great, $35 each, 1,000 units, put those in here, and you end up with basically a $3,500 product cost, which is right here. Okay? So how many units you need to make is not how many units you need to sell. You want to basically break even on all of the costs that you have during your Kickstarter, so that way you don't end up not having enough money to fulfill the product that people are getting. And so, all right, minimum order quantity is 1,000. So you know it's going to cost you $3,500 for the cost of the product. Next is ocean freight plus local shipping. So that's actually a pretty small product. Might take half a container. And you can say, okay, so, and you can look at how large a container size is. So you can go container shipping sizes, and there's all these charts for standard shipping container sizes, and it's like 7.8 feet by 19.4 feet by 8 foot. So let's assume that you could fit one of these in a box. You could probably fit, 6? No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just say you could fit 9 of these in 1 cubic foot. So, 1,000 divided by, let's just even make it easier, 10, 100 square feet. So if you've got a 8 by 19, 1,200, one less than container load basically for a small container here. You're looking at maybe $6,000, let's say, to get it shipped in and to you. So we'll just estimate that in here as ocean freight and shipping. And I'll go over when you're looking at ocean freight, by the way, you want to know what Incoterms you're going to have. So it's not direct in terms of how easy it is to understand. So Incoterms are basically a set of internationally recognized rules, and here's a chart, that specify who takes control at what point in the shipping. So what most people are used to having is what's called delivery duty paid. And that is where you pay somebody $100 for something and it comes all the way to you, and taxes are paid on it and fees, and it arrives at your doorstep and you just get it. It's yours. Most often you will have something in between here. The worst of it being Ex Works, where basically you get it, you handle everything from the manufacturer to your door. And then there's things in between like FOB, freight on board, or free on board rather. So that is where the manufacturer says, I will ship it from my point of manufacture to the port and make sure it gets onto the boat. And then the rest is up to you. And that may or may not include insurance. So you can see here insurance is fairly negotiable. And then there is like cost of insurance and freight. And then, you go all the way down here and you say, okay, at what point does it make sense for us to take over control? In my case, for products that I've had made, I have typically done freight on board, and then I have the warehouse where I ship my product to. They have a logistics team which handles then the rest of the logistics of getting the product from the boat, insured, across the ocean, paying basically it's on the boat, but you didn't necessarily pay for the voyage. So paying for the voyage across the ocean, it gets arrived, it gets taken off the boat, it has to go through customs, you have to pay taxes, you have to get it then put either into a warehouse or onto a train then, or in a truck. They have to pull it out of the container, which is another thing. So unless you have a full container and they can take that container and pick it directly up and put it onto a train, typically it has to go to a intermediary warehouse where they pull it all out, and then it goes from there uh, into a truck or wherever, and then to your warehouse or to your house or wherever it's going to go, and then you ship it out. So we can go more into all specifics on Incoterms in a different episode, but the big thing is you want to make sure that this number is accurate, because it can actually end up being quite a considerable cost that you didn't have planned. So here I have 13,000. That was for big and expensive products that I was selling, like crown rollers and things like that. But for this product, which is smaller and lighter, and you might be able to fit 9 in a cubic foot, you might have a lower rate of around, oh, let's just say $7,000. So here's the big thing. Okay, $7,000 for ocean freight and local shipping and whatnot. That doesn't include tariffs. Tariffs, thank you, Mr. Trump and Biden, because you guys haven't done anything to reduce this, 25%. So 25% on any of the products that you're shipping in, assuming it's coming from China. And you can look up your own duty rates, but for things that I had been doing, it was 25%. It's a big hit. Is it enough to make you want to manufacture it in Mexico? Maybe. In the Eastern Bloc countries? Maybe. In the US? Well, unfortunately, chances are, if you want to manufacture in the US, your product's going to have to cost about 5 times more. Most people don't typically want to have their item costing substantially more. If it's a high value item, maybe not as much, but that's something that you can trade off. Maybe you're making already in the US and you've got a nice streamlined manufacturing setup that you think you can take your prototype through to regular manufacturing. Great. Well, then you can just ignore this tariffs part and the ocean freight, but figure out your local rates to get it from wherever they're making it to you. If you're doing it in Mexico, there's great trade agreements. You basically almost pay no taxes on a lot of things. And then your marketing budget. So my marketing budget typically, and this is fairly true for most Kickstarters, is you take however much you want to raise and 30% of that is marketing budget. So here on the $35,000 that we would gross if we were to sell a random 389, then we would end up with about $35,000 and 11.5 in a marketing budget. So you take all those and you add them up and you get basically all the expenses that you could have. So your Kickstarter might have raised 35K, but the cost of your product was 35K plus all of these items, and now you have $62,000 in expenses. And so, oh, I didn't even add in, so you have 34,000 from Kickstarter. Kickstarter takes about 9% between them and their payment processing company. And then you have shipping to your customer. I randomly estimated $15 per unit. How much is your product going to cost? For this particular item, to get a fulfillment center to ship it out to a customer, you could say probably around $15 is a decent estimate. You could do a flat rate box, let's say, or some places will be closer than others, and on average it's about $15. But that's an important number to realize. I didn't realize for one of my products that was very heavy that I had to have a lot of customers that were across the country on the East Coast, and so I ended up having a lot more shipping charges than I thought. And then what if somebody ordered it in Alaska? If you let that happen, you'd be surprised how much more shipping is to Alaska or Hawaii, so be very careful with that. Kickstarter is not great on allowing you to charge actual shipping retroactively. It's a big pain in the rear. So you're much better off either charging a flat rate or just free shipping and you include it in the cost of the item. So let's see here. So you got your marketing budget. You've got your total expenses now are actually $62,000. Okay. So now you're getting a better idea of how much do we need to raise in order to make this work. So if you take the 34,000 you raise and you net 25, add up everything, you end up $36,000 short. So clearly some things here need to change. We can change how many we sell. We can change the price of what we sell, and that'll give us a better estimate. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll show the whole screen so it makes it easier. So, all right, let's say we sell 500 units. 500 units, I got to come over here and edit this. So really, we get 29,000 here, 15 now. Where is it getting? Kickstarter gross, net, cost of product, ocean freight, marketing. Marketing went up. Total expenses. So now we're at 32,000. And this number is arbitrary. So maybe what I would do is just delete this line out. Okay. Shipping fees is equal to this plus this. Sorry, I'm editing this on the fly. Okay, that's better. All right, so again, we have a shortfall. What if we were to sell all 1,000 units, right? So this is a great example here, 800 units. Oh, now we're only $10,000 short. So does this make sense that if we sold our entire minimum order quantity, we are still going to lose money in this? And this is the problem that people have, is that they set their funded amount to $8,000 because, and I'll get into why you want to do this, but if you don't raise 95,000, not even, let's say now we sell 1,200 units. Okay, not enough. 1,100 units. That's not 1,100. 11,000, 1,100. Okay, let's just say that's break even. So if we were to sell 1,100 units, basically you can see now we are going to break even here with $1,000 profit, and still our minimum order quantity is I didn't even include that on here probably. So now it's 1,300 units is actually really what it costs, and we're still at a shortfall. So clearly you can see the price of the product is not sufficient to cover the cost of the product. So there's a problem in here. All right. And so, okay, $79 is not a good enough MSRP. Let's change this to 99, and now 129 and 179. Okay, great. Now we've got a better sense of having enough money here. Oh, and one thing I didn't add into this is, so you have these total expenses, and based on the number of customers that you get, we can do something where we funnel customers in. Sorry, I'm not showing the whole screen again. So there's a great method through this company. Well, many companies do this, but LaunchBoom's a great example of, they teach you how to do a click funnel where you basically get a variety of people to give you a deposit for whatever you're buying. And then that makes them feel like they have sunk costs, and sunk costs won't make them want to then convert further when you actually launch your product. So it's pretty neat. Let's say you have a website and you funnel all your advertisements to your website, and you say, okay, enter your info in this email and we'll keep you posted. And you get 10,000 people to enter their emails, but because you say we're launching soon on our Kickstarter. Well, The thing is, you might be launching soon on your Kickstarter, but what you can actually do is then have another section and say, hey, guess what? If you give us $5, we're going to lock you in at the lowest possible rate in Kickstarter for $99. We'll make sure you get it for $99, because if you miss that, then it's going to be $150, right? Or MSRP is going to be $180. And so we'll make sure you email you as soon as it launches, and you're going to be locked in. And even if you miss it, we'll make sure you get locked in at that $99 rate. So people say, oh, for $5, I can save $50 or $100. This is great. Of course, I'm going to give you $5. And then now that they have given you $5, they are 10 times, 100 times more likely to actually buy that product because they have some sunk cost into it. Well, I already spent $5, so I might as well spend 99, 94 or 99 more. And then if you put on there that it is fully refundable, you feel like there's no risk, but the actual number of people who want to try and get their $5 back is pretty low, so you don't have to worry typically about refunding every single person their $5. And then those people become advocates typically of your product and want to tell all their friends, like, hey, I just, they didn't back you yet, but hey, I just saw this thing and it's really cool and I'm super excited to get it. So you have a much better known conversion rate with those than you have with just regular emails. So something you can do is actually raise capital through this method. So let's say you get 5,000 email subscribers, but you get 1,000 people who are VIPs that might convert at 15%, and they gave you each $5, and you would expect to get 150 of those people. And so you can use this and say, okay, expected sales of 1,000 is 150. Well, we know now we need to hit 1,300 here, right? Okay, interesting. So if I put in, 10,000 VIPs, right? Now I've got 1,500 expected sales, and I've raised $50,000 in pre-campaign advertising money. And so you can actually put that in here, $50,000. Let me go back to the full screen here. And now you basically can offset a lot of your expenses. So I'm going to do that in here actually, is I'm going to put another line, move that line, and change all of this. So you've got marketing budget, but then you also have VIP cash, right? And we'll just move this over here, and great. So now we can take our marketing budget and our VIP cash, we can go to our total expenses, and we can actually subtract out this line. And now our total expenses are much lower, and our product and profit shortfall is much better. And this is great. So now you'd actually end up with a profit margin of roughly 37% if you had that. So let's go back now to our minimum order quantity of 1,000. And let's assume we sold, 600, or if we sold all 800. And we needed, 6,000. Not even. Well, it'd be like 1,000. And all of these are not going to come, by the way, through your Kickstarter here. You could imagine that half of your people that buy your product are going to be through your VIPs, and the other half are going to be completely random people. So what you could do is maybe bring this number down to like 3,000 or something. But the cool part is you can continue to advertise your product saying like, hey, Kickstarter coming soon, sign up to be a VIP. And you just keep advertising until you've reached however many VIP $5 deposits that you think you need to get with the conversion you think you'll get, to then end up with the expected sales that you need in order to launch your product and not end up with a shortfall. So again, 450 doesn't seem like it's a problem. So let's go back down to even less, 350. 350, and this would end up being, you know, I could probably do this the opposite way. Wouldn't that be smart? Let's take this expected sales number and make that equal to that. And then, well, actually, I don't like doing that because then it doesn't give you a differential. So, because again, maybe all of these aren't from that. So let's make this 2,300. Perfect. So if you got 2,000 VIPs, you raised $10,000, you end up getting these 350, and then, you know, let's say these 200 out of the total that you have is organic, and you end up with, let's see here, a total grossed Kickstarter amount of 65,000. Your fees, yep. Shipping fees, yep. Net 50K. Product costs 35K. Your ocean freight, your tariffs, and this is still the, yep. Your marketing budget, third of what you raised. Oh, this was not live. That's why things are off. This is also not correct. Okay, weird. Sorry about this. All right, so VIP cash is actually equal to this number. Ah, all right, so now we're off. This is making more sense. So you can play with the numbers again. So 350, 450, 550. Okay, break even. So this is where you about break even. And of course, this doesn't include your time. And so, you know, you need to have about 5,000, you know, email subscribers at this conversion rate. But the real thing is you need 2,000 people. How long is it going to take you to get 2,000 people? And again, if you go back to this Launch Boom, how to know if your pre-launch ad is good. So this talks about VIP and non-VIP conversions, and then how much you're spending in dollar amount, and then, you know, the revenue you get from that. And so like you might spend $112 in ads and you get 13 VIP leads. Those 13 VIP leads will end up, you know, giving you X amount more profit or whatever. And you can determine whether or not you are having good conversions or not. But it's just, you know, again, if you look at this across the whole, there's a lot more going on than most people think about. They typically go onto Kickstarter and they say, oh, I'm going to, you know, sell this product, and they don't take all of this into account, and then their shortfall is substantial. And then that's why people never end up getting products from Kickstarters. So I've had 3 successful Kickstarters now using this method, and in all of them I've not lost money in the Kickstarter, which is huge. And then I also had a bunch of extra inventory, which if you look down at the bottom here, I have, you know, okay, shortfall, basically break even, no profit, 0 profit margin. But what's the value of the product remaining? So it's supposed to be whatever your MSRP is, and then you take the minimum order quantity and you subtract away the number of units that you had. So if I put in here total is equal to that, okay, and then I go this minus that. There we go. So now the value of the product remaining would be 50K. Let's assume you still spend a third on marketing or advertising, or in this case, Amazon fulfillment. And so eventually the profit you end up after you sell everything out would be about 33,500. So this is where, again, is it worth going through all of this to then only end up with 35K and not even including all of the time that you put into it? Maybe not. So this is the thing, is if you're only selling 1,000 units and they're $35 each, is this all going to make sense? And again, also, true cost of goods is $71 here. If you added up your minimum order quantity, your 1,000 units you're buying, and your total expenses here, and that's not even including VIP cash. So, I mean, really, you'd have to get rid of this VIP cash. Let's see here. Total non-reoccurring expenses would be equal to this plus your ocean freight plus your tariffs. Okay. So you might have a $71 cost of goods for your Kickstarter, but afterwards, let me just say retail. It's going to be, $50. So typically MSRP is 4x your cost of goods. And what do you have here? $199. So this is why any future sales would have to be at the $199 rate at Amazon or local stores and whatnot. And that's if you're selling directly. If you are selling to any sort of actual retailer, you're going to be selling for just a 2x markup. So you're going to be selling it to them for $100 each. And then you're just hoping to get volume. So that's all I've got on how to do Kickstarter budgeting. I hope that this was super useful and that you've learned it's a lot more involved than you thought. I hope you can use this to actually get a better understanding of the costs that go into producing the item that you want to make. And this doesn't even include adding up all the pieces and then if you wanted to budget out the cost of something yourself, right? Piece by piece. This is just assuming simple lump sum manufacturer says it'll cost this to make 1,000. It's not that simple. But it'll at least prevent you from making a massive mistake in budgeting when you're trying to then launch a Kickstarter, and also make a lot of people angry when they don't get the product that they're hoping to get. In terms of manufacturers, usually it's 90 days from when you wire the money over to when you'll receive product locally. Again, if you have a far more complicated product, it's going to take longer, but 90 days is a good start, and this is assuming no manufacturing problems. So are you going to have scrap? If you're going to have scrap, that's going to add to the cost a lot, rework. I suggest getting samples, pre-production samples from your manufacturer as soon as possible. Ideally, you already have them. Again, if you go back into the sourcing episode I had, when you have your prototype ready, let's say you have a provisional patent or something, and you send it to your vendors to vet them out, at this point they should have already hopefully been able to send you back prototypes or examples of things that they've made so that you know that they can make the product reliably that you want. And then let's see here. So yeah, I mean, if you're giving people delivery timelines on Kickstarter, it's super useful then to show them that, hey, we've already got factories lined up. We know that from when we send them the money, it's going to be 4 months, and you should expect it this time frame. And then that way it doesn't take a year because you're still prototyping it at the factory. Your prototype is good to go. Okay, so I guess the other thing I didn't count in or cover in here is you look at your MSRP price and you look at your Kickstarter pricing and all of that and your true cost of goods, and you played with all these numbers. You have to be realistic in terms of, am I going to hit this number of VIPs? Is there enough people who would want this product? And am I going to basically be able to hit a price point that people even want? And so if none of that is going to work out, if you are priced way outside of the market, you'll find out when you're doing all of your marketing, and then maybe you just pull the plug on the whole thing, or you try and find a way to add value or things like that. But if, for example, you find out, oh, this just doesn't make any sense financially, at least earlier on before you have committed to a much more substantial failure, then you can back off and save a lot of face with this. So that's it. That's all I got. If you like it, please like and subscribe to this, and I'll have a lot more things like this.